Today, we meet the apartment owners railing against impossible bills from the firms who manage their buildings.
We got a £1,600 bill for cleaning, and that was for someone to run up and down the stairs to hoover them.
Plus the retailer refusing to pay a refund for an oven that broke literally within weeks. Our Advice Clinic experts are trying to help the charity that just can't afford to buy a replacement.
And the supposedly cost-effective car insurance that wasn't. How young drivers with one company saw prices nearly triple before being told their only choice was to pay up or cancel.
This is Rip Off Britain. Hello, it's good to have you with us. Now, we're here to make sure that you don't end up paying way over the odds or being unfairly locked out of the deals to which everyone else seems to be entitled.
Today's programme is packed with people who got a bad deal for reasons that they simply couldn't avoid.
We've got advice for anyone who's bought something online from a company that appeared to be in the UK, only to find out when they tried to return things that it was actually based in China and wants to charge them for the return postage.
But first, whichever way you look at it, buying a home is an expensive business. However, once you're in, save for any emergencies, the costs of running your lovely new home should remain fairly predictable.
Well, at least that's the theory. For the people in our first film today and for countless others right across the country who own apartments which incur a monthly service charge, predictable is not a word that can be used to describe what their managing agent asks them to pay, and the impact of big out-of-the-blue bills can be utterly devastating. Across the UK, city centre apartment living is booming, and Manchester resident Jack Walker is all in.
I've been here for just over 3 years now. Absolutely love it. I've got a lot of friends and local communities that I'm a part of. There's a gym just down the road that I go to.
New Little Mill is a development of around 70 apartments, nestled in the fashionable Ancoats district of the city. Jack bought his very swish pad in 2021, knowing that part of the deal was paying a monthly service charge to the building's management firm, Rendell and Rittner.
The service charge when I first moved in was a little over £300 a month, which felt expensive, but it felt worth it. Our monthly service charge goes towards a 5-day-a-week concierge service, regular communal cleaning, communal electricity, maintenance of the lift, any faults with access to the building through gates.
The fee also covers general maintenance and building insurance. And for the first 2 years, the amount Jack and his neighbours paid each month covered the cost of running the building. But in January 2024 came a big shock. Rendell and Rittner had overspent during the previous year to the tune of £60,000. The first Jack and his neighbours knew about it was when they received a letter from the company outlining the figures. And when they worked it all out, they realised they needed to stump up around £900 each in order to cover the bill.
My initial reaction was anger. It was shocking. How has it taken this long to tell us we're this much overspent? I'd assumed that there was a monthly tracking of expenditure and we would have known about it before then. The initial email was really vague, and while it stated that the budget had been overspent, there was no acknowledgement of any ownership or wrongdoing.
Jack's on the residents' committee for the complex, so we asked for a breakdown of all the costs, and he got another bit of a shock, especially when it came to some of the overspends, including concierge and cleaning services, which went £8,000 over budget. And then the electricity bill. For the communal areas alone, it came in at £55,000, some £33,000 more than budgeted.
There's an emergency exit there that is a private exit that no one can get through. It seems like the light in there is just on 24/7, which makes no sense because no one ever uses that unless there's a fire to get out of the building. It's quite depressing seeing it like this on a day-to-day basis with zero control over just turning the lights off and saving some cash is infuriating.
But I'm afraid that's not all. Rendell and Rittner also handed the residents a breakdown of the overspend expected in the forthcoming year. Another £1,300 per flat.
I'm really concerned that that's going to become the norm, which it shouldn't be, because 2 years ago we didn't pay anywhere near this much on the overspend. We were within budget quite comfortably. I've lost quite a bit of sleep over how this is going to be resolved. It's just very unfair on the residents as a whole.
And something else that Jack finds unfair is that he and the other residents were never told about the overspend ahead of time.
It's really difficult to know what I can do in this situation because they know the law better than I do, so there's limited grounding I have to be able to fight these costs.
But Jack is not giving up.
I'm doing everything I can to get under the skin of this and get on top of what's actually going on, because I think the next stage of this is getting a formal complaint in and to try and put some pressure on them to take some accountability for how poorly they've done their job.
When we spoke to Rendell and Rittner about this, it told us that the budget for the 2022-23 financial year was set before the energy crisis pushed up prices. This, combined with insurance costs, which it does not manage, resulted in much of the overspending, none of which benefits Rendell and Rittner. The firm says that it has engaged fully and has been transparent with the resident management company, adding that it has conducted a tender process and applied for government help schemes, which will lead to markedly lower costs in the 2023-24 budget. Disputes over property management charges made up more than a quarter of the leasehold disputes taken to the Property Ombudsman in 2022. Now, it has the powers to suggest to these companies new ways of working and help get compensation for residents, which is why Nicola Hawkins from Romford took her case to the Ombudsman. She bought a two-bedroom flat above these shops in February 2022 and says the advertised monthly service charge was £800.
When I saw it, went to view it, and I was a first-time buyer, and of course, I was very excited. However, I didn't actually see any breakdowns until the day I exchanged.
At which point she was told that ground rent and service charges would total £1,700 a year, more than double what she was expecting. But Nicola and the owners of the 5 neighbouring flats have ended up paying management firm Ecostates far more than even that.
We got a £1,600 bill for cleaning, as one example, and that was for someone to run up and down the stairs to hoover them.
Then there was £2,500 for cleaning the drains, 5 times the initial estimate. So the neighbours complained.
And every single line item that we questioned, there was not a sufficient answer for. That's just what it costs.
In June 2023, Nicola and her neighbours took Ecostates to a property tribunal, which agreed that some of its costs were too high and reduced several of them, resulting in a saving for the residents of around £9,500 on the original figures. But despite that ruling, they're still facing bills for the year ahead, far bigger than Nicola ever imagined at the start. When we spoke to Ecostates, it told us it did not recognise the £800 figure Nicola said she expected to pay for service charges. Ecostates insisted its fees would have been clear in the information it provided when she bought the flat, and it stressed that it has responded to all residents' queries in detail. Ecostates explained that the 2023 service charge was increased due to major works to the roof. The £2,500 bill for cleaning the drains also included repairs. And the internal cleaning bill covers fortnightly cleaning of the communal areas and equates to around £45 per clean. Ecostates said the 2024 costs take into account inflation and a float for repairs that may or may not happen, but it stressed that they are very much in line with the same budget that has been in place since 2020. Whatever reasons Nicola and Jack's management firms point to for why their service charges are so much higher than expected, what feels most unfair to the residents is that they're expected to cough up more than was budgeted through absolutely no fault of their own. It doesn't just leave them worried about their finances, but also feeling well and truly trapped.
It just makes me wish I'd never ever bought this flat. I wish I'd never ever had to deal with this situation. I can't even go shopping at the moment because I feel like everything I buy for myself is money that I might need for legal fees, or I might need to do something about, you know, getting out of this situation. It's just made me resent where I live.
Do I continue to live here and pay an excessive cost, or do I move out and sell the apartment for less than it's worth because the service charge is too high? And either way, it's a lose-lose.
With us is solicitor Gary Rycroft, and he's going to unpack the whole scenario. So, Gary, some 884 leasehold-related complaints were filed with the Property Ombudsman last year, and a quarter of those related to maintenance alone. This is like the big question. Why is there such a problem suddenly?
Well, Gloria, the cases that have been filed with the Ombudsman will just be the tip of the iceberg, because this is a really big problem. It's widespread across the whole country, and it's caused intervention at the highest level of government. Cabinet Minister Michael Gove has said that he will reform the law, because at the moment, management companies can charge as they see fit for the services that they provide, and indeed for their own fees. The only restraint on them at the moment is if they know that there's going to be expenditure of £250 or more per leaseholder. But if there are any overspends, they do not need to be declared in advance. So people are quite clearly worried and anxious because they've got no control over what is being spent on their leasehold properties, and that means they've got no control over their own budgets.
What happens if people withhold what they're due to pay? Is that a good or bad idea?
I don't think that's a good idea, and the reason for that is that the ultimate sanction against leaseholders is actually something called forfeiture. So if you don't pay your service charge, don't pay your ground rent, the landlord can ultimately seize your flat from you, make you forfeit your lease.
If things get really, really bad, can you get a majority decision to actually sack that maintenance company and take on another one? Because after all, it is the Residents Association in the end that books the maintenance company.
Yeah, the property management company, the maintenance company, they are middlemen, and they are appointed effectively by the leaseholders to run the block of flats or whatever. And yes, there are rights that leaseholders have. They can vote on a majority to remove the company and appoint a new one.
At least there might be some good news, because new rules are hopefully about to take place.
That's right. So we've got the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Bill, which is going through Parliament at the moment, and that is going to give leaseholders power to demand more transparent and open information about things like service charge. And the key reform is going to be that all service charge accounts have got to be presented in a standardised form that are easy to understand. And also there's going to be a ban on things like commissions that management companies sometimes take.
And along with that increased transparency, leaseholders will have the right to ask for information about the management of their building and get regular updates. It could go a long way to ironing out the problems that both Jack and Nicola are facing.
Time now for our advice clinic, where some of the nation's best experts are standing up for your rights.